Some of the remains of legendary mountaineer Sandy Irvine have been discovered on the Rongbuk Glacier in Tibet. This is certainly the biggest break in the mystery of Mallory and Irvine in at least 25 years. A boot and sock were discovered sticking out of the glacier by a team there to film a ski descent of the Hornbein Couloir. Team was unsuccessful, and upon their return back to base camp noticed this without even looking for it. It was completely serendipitous. It was quite obvious to the team that was led by Jimmy Chin, the famous mountain climber, Oscar-winning film director, that this was an old boot. It looks exactly like the boot that George Mallory was wearing when he was discovered in 1999. Upon closer inspection, Jimmy Chin lifted up the sock, and stitched on it was a label that said A.C. Irvine, Andrew Comyn Irvine. Absolutely amazing. There were no other remains found. However, this is a truly historic discovery. In today's video, I have an interview with the world's greatest historian about Mount Everest and the Mallory and Irvine mystery, Jochen Hemmleb. You are not going to want to miss it. Probably the most important thing over all of the fascination with this recent discovery is that Sandy Irvine was a human being. He has relatives who are still alive today, who have great love for this man who lost his life in 1924. Most notably for me is Julie Summers, who wrote this incredible portrait of Sandy Irvine called Fearless on Everest, The Quest for Sandy Irvine, that talks about Sandy Irvine in a way that brings him fully to life. He was a vital and funny and intelligent young man, and also is a congratulations to the team. Sometimes serendipitous discoveries are the greatest discoveries of all. We're not looking for something and we find it anyway. And that's the most beautiful part of this story. Jochen Hemmleb has so much to share about it. Let's get to that interview ASAP. Let me give you a little bit about the particulars of how these remains were found, and then we'll jump into this interview with Jochen. The team that discovered these remains was a National Geographic documentary team with photographer Jimmy Chin, also along with filmmakers and climbers Eric Repke and Mark Fisher, a truly amazing team. It would come as no surprise that the team was absolutely mind blown by the discovery, and in the short article released by National Geographic, Chin says that after they recognized in unison what had taken place, quote, "We were all literally running in circles, dropping F-bombs." That would make for great film content if you ask me. It's truly authentic and spur of the moment. I can imagine it. It must have been an amazing experience for them. The question that really remains is, does this discovery shed any new light on the mystery of Mallory and Irvine? Can we make any deductions about what might have happened to George Mallory and Sandy Irvine 100 years ago this year? Well, I'm going to let Jochen Hemmleb explain that. However, a couple of things of note to mention is, in my interview with Jamie McGinnis that discusses the idea that the Chinese either removed or, quote, threw the body off of the mountain some years ago, really does corroborate that interview with Jamie McGinnis. And I'll provide a link to that amazing interview with Jamie in the description below. I strongly advise you to look at it. It also corroborates what I've been saying for years, that if there is any team that's interested in trying to find the remains of Sandy Irvine, that they would be throwing their money, literally throwing their money away if they spent it on going up the mountain. The only reason to go up high on the mountain is to see the viability of the Norton Couloir. I'm going to let Jochen Hemmleb comment on that. One thing that I want to say before I get into the interview with Jochen, I'm scheduling a live about this, and there's going to be a lot more on this channel about this recent discovery. So if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll click that subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell so you'll be notified every time a new video comes out. It's probably going to be happening a lot over the next few weeks and months, so be sure to do that. Now let's get into our interview with Jochen Hemmleb, one of the great historians of Mount Everest and truly the world authority on the mystery of Mallory and Irvine. So let's get into it with Jochen Hemmleb from his home in northern Italy. Jochen, so of course, when I heard the news, my phone was blowing up and people were reaching out like crazy saying, did you hear? Did you hear? Of course, I thought of you first. And I thought, well, the cool thing about Jochen is as passionate and as many ideas as you have your own theories about what might have happened to Mallory and Irvine, you don't let your emotions or your opinions get in the way of a really good analysis of what it means, even if it proves you wrong of what you want to be true, right? So first, what was your reaction, your emotional reaction when you heard this?
Well, it was this morning, shortly after 8 o'clock, and I was doing my usual press overview. That's what I do every morning. And I had a look at various newspapers and then Facebook. And all of a sudden on Facebook, there popped up this photograph of this woolen sock with the label Andrew Irvine. And I thought, what? And then I found the reference to National Geographic and Jimmy Chin. So I went onto Google, and it turned out that the message has gotten out just 29 minutes earlier. And I said, wow, wow. So, yeah, I spilled my coffee. So, yeah, the message got me emotionally. I really have to say that. And that was the emotional reaction came first. And it was an emotion of, to be perfectly honest, relief. It was really kind of letting go of all these questions and riddles and, well, suspicions, suggestions, everything. It was just great. He's been found. Now we know where he is. And that piece of the puzzle snapped into place. But it was really on this kind of emotional level that it brought some kind of peace. Yeah, now we know where he is. On the forensic level, well, right now, I don't think that the find really tells us that much, to be perfectly honest. My initial thought was, yeah, he's down on the glacier. Okay. But that's at the same time where the problem lies in all of this. I mean, it's a huge glacier, it's a huge collection zone. So it seems to me very difficult to draw any firm conclusion from that. It eliminates maybe one or two theories, but it leaves open very many possibilities still. I mean, I wrote already in Facebook that there are many ways how he could have ended up down there on the central Rongbuk. He could have fallen with Mallory all the way down, which, by the way, is interesting that Mallory caught his fall up there and Irvine went all the way down to the base of the mountain. He could have been avalanched down there. He could have been thrown off the mountain like Jamie McGinnis had been told by the Tibetans. Everything is still possible, and every theory basing on those various scenarios are still valid at this point. So now it's more like, let's wait and see. Let's wait if more will be found, if more information will get out. but I don't see a definitive solution to the mystery by that find alone. Um, but still, there's the poignancy. There is the poignancy and the really calming feeling. Hey, we know his final resting place, and that is very, very comforting. And so I'm thinking very much of Julie Summers, Irvin's relatives, and so and I think that's the feeling that prevails right now at the end of this very exciting day.
Amazing. What a beautiful reaction and a poignant one. And you wrapped it so well by saying, the thoughts of with the family and the amazing book by Julie Summers, which I've tapped into. It had been so long since I had read the book about Sandy Irvine that I'm reading it now as if it's the first time. And I find myself at the personality of Sandy Irvine, who sounds to me like he was one of the funniest guys. His letters, just an amazing human being. And that it brings some closure to the family. And for those people, such as yourself and like me, and many of the people who kind of been involved in this and portrayed in some extent, to some extent, as the barbarians who were up there who didn't care about anything but just ransacking the area, being portrayed really wrongly. Because the first thought, other than you, when I heard this news today, was the family. This must be just incredible news. Somber, but beautiful too, because it does bring some closure.
I have to add two more things. First of all, of course, I congratulate the team that made the discovery. I mean, this is such a great addition to the story, and I mean, you can trust them to shoot some great footage and have some great documentation of that. And what they have published so far brought this great sense of deja vu. You have the name tag, almost identical lettering, red lettering, like Mallory's name tag. You have the old leather boot, which seems to have been a little bit different from that of Mallory, but an old leather boot nonetheless. You could still see the nails on the sole of the boot. And this is such a deja vu, like remembering 25 years ago, sitting at Advanced Base Camp when Andy Pollitz came down and presented us with the boot, and you were there. And that is what keeps the story so alive. And I like that we have now this mirror image, this analogy. We have the same image of artifacts from Irvine that we now have, that we had of Mallory. And it's a bit like Andrew is now stepping out of Mallory's shadow a bit. We have a similar image in mind, and that is great. And that is what I feel about this 100th anniversary year, 2024. The story is becoming more complete, not necessarily solved, but it becomes more complete. We have this discovery of Andrew Irvine. There couldn't have been a better timing than in this year. And we have this beautiful biography of Ruth Mallory by Kate Nicholson, which is a stunningly, beautifully crafted book. To me, it felt like, yeah, we have 50% of Mallory's story, his better half, the story of his better half added. So that is great. We have Mallory, we have Ruth Mallory, we have now Andrew. We couldn't have asked for more that on this anniversary year. So yeah, it's really time to celebrate. Have a beer, man.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Jochen, for an amazing interview. I am fascinated with this. One of the things that Jochen said that I'll echo now is it will be very interesting to observe this story as an observer, as opposed to in 1999 when we emerged from the discovery of George Mallory as people on the inside of the story looking out. And it will be quite a thing to watch happen and unfold and see just what takes place, not only in the media and the press, but for the lives of the people involved in this, because certainly this is going to change things for them, hopefully in a very beautiful way as well. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell notification. I'll be scheduling a live video with much new information about this discovery coming up in just a few days, early next week. And if this is past the point of time that the live stream took place, you can find the link to it in the description of this video. Thanks for being here. Do somebody a good deed. Don't ask for anything in return. Make the world a better place, one tiny step at a time. Peace be with you.